Hello? Let's settle down, please.
Just give it another 5 minutes. I'm seeing people at that day, so
That's why I'm holding it.
Hello, please let's settle down. Let's settle down for the next session. Hello. Okay. Okay. Let's settle down, please. Attention. Hello. I think we need to move now to our next session. And the next session is going to be facilitated by Mr. Godfrey Calero, a member of the Repository Advisory Committee. Mr. Calero, please welcome.
So, good morning. Good morning again. Let's settle. Yeah, we have made a slight adjustment of the program so that we get Professor Kashoda to make the presentation, and then we can be able to take the plenary session so that we address all the issues that would have been addressed. Karibu, Prof. Let's applaud him.
Good morning.
Yeah, the chairman of NRF and the CEO and all others, I think that the word is all protocols observed. Good morning. So I got to be able to present. Now, I wanted to say one other thing. I don't know whether the British Council lady is here, that I am also a beneficiary of the British Council PhD scholarship. But this was a long time ago. You know, it's yes. So I was one of the lucky few to get a scholarship, and I spent 3.5 years for my PhD. So as you can see, I bring in, I represent Kenneth. Yeah, I represent Kenneth, and Kenneth is kind of the technical arm or the special purpose arm for universities and research institutes and affiliated for executing all the ideas that you are discussing here. So I wanted, we are known a lot for being the connectivity providers. But I want to just very briefly tell you about this organization, which is a special purpose. Again, one of the other things I wanted to tell the British Council people is that Kenneth was also motivated by Janet. Janet is a joint academic network of the UK, and we were part of that network when we were doing our PhD. So when we came and we were young, working under our founding chair, Professor Michieka, we thought that we should move this idea of a network. But since then, it has become something quite different. So I will want to just deal with a few of these. I'll go very quickly. But I wanted to bring you to the attention because I have seen this community is missing something that we normally have. You have missing research institutes. There are many, the Cambridge, the Calros, but also I just wanted to bring to your attention that over the years, in the 23 years, Kenneth is a 21st century, Q1 21st century organization. In that time, we have seen the global industrial labs coming to Kenya. And they affect the ecosystem, and I don't know whether we are measuring it. They affect the pipeline, the research pipeline. So the first one that came in 2013 was IBM Research Africa. They are at Catholic University. If you have been there, they are big. They have been affecting, they give interns, they give internship, they give talks, they help us with curriculum development. But most of all, they host a cloud lab in our data center. Then more recently, the Microsoft has come, and it's big. They even have an AI center, and actually they are going to be doing even an AI in education conference in June. It's one of the first. We are fortunate in Africa. Imagine 500 developers in one place, Kenyans. This is probably one of the biggest concentration of high-end staff in Kenya maybe after Safaricom. And then there is the international research institutes that are also part of Kenneth. The ISIPE manages the research fund that finances PhD studies. Then ILRI, ICRAF, even Impala, which has become our member. It's a Princeton University outfit in Laikipia. And of course, Cambridge has many arms. Sometimes it's government, sometimes it's not. But when we are looking for special licenses for them as academic institutions of Kenya, we were told this organization is not funded by the government. It is funded by others. So it's and therefore it's treated like a private organization. The most important thing for this discussion is that all the publications they put are actually credited to Kenya. So if you go to Elsevier or any of the research tools, you will notice that some of the top researchers in computer science and in engineering are coming from IBM Research Africa. So they are helping us in many ways. They are helping us to look good. So we subscribe to Elsevier tool. And Professor Andala, one of the reasons we got into this is that we started collecting data
about research productivity. And we go to directors of research, ICT directors and VCs, and we collect data. We are one of the few institutions, even before the office of ODPC, that are allowed to collect data from our members as part of it. And so we found we were not getting the data. But Elsevier helps us to discover researchers and to know what they are doing using this intelligence tool. It's an AI tool, runs on HPC. You subscribe to it. It's very pricey, as you can imagine, but we do it for our community. Now, if your conferences and journals are not indexed, either in Scopus, Web of Science, somewhere, they are not going to appear at all, anywhere. So they might as well not have happened. So I just want to show you the thing we have. We have a big agenda as Kenneth. We started off by saying, you will see the objects briefly. We wanted, first of all, to have high-speed connectivity. For what? To enable research and education. And so we have been monitoring the research productivity of Kenya using this tool. This is only what is in Scopus. So if you are indexed somewhere else and not in Scopus, you don't appear here. Just 18,000 publications in 5 years for the whole country, everyone in Kenya. Yeah. So we publish these reports, research productivity reports for the top 20 research institutes in terms of the number of publications that appear in Elsevier. So let me now tell you something about Kenneth. This is the way we were formed. Believe it or not, this is our 1999 objects. Yeah? Some people were very young in primary school, but Professor Micheka was still a VC. You know, so life is long and it's short, but you can see it is long. And I was already in senior leadership in a university, in a private university, and here we are. So the young people, please stop discriminating. We could dream. So the thing that, although we started here and we continue to do sustainable internet, you will be surprised the problems of 2000 are there today in 2024. But they are not there for universities, fortunately, except the new universities. You know, when you are going to Tharaka, we are building the fiber right now. So the new universities, obviously, but the others are. But TVETs, who are also our members, are at the beginning. But I spend most of my time in research collaboration, which now has been labeled research engagement. So that is what an old professor does. You know, you start just being a champion of the others. We are governed by a board of trustees. 7 out of 13 are vice chancellors. So it's dominated by vice chancellors, and I know the other members are starting to ask why. But even the universities, there are only 7, and unfortunately, the founding 5, Jomo Kenyatta, Nairobi, Moi, DESTA, and USIU, continue to be among the 7. And that has caused a lot of problems. Yeah, I think it will be solved. Yes. Yeah, it's the UN security. We have veto powers. They have veto powers, but don't laugh about it. It's a very serious matter to us. We are very sensitive about it. But the most important thing is that we are not governmental. We are a trust, an irrevocable trust, created as a special vehicle by universities, but now it includes the others. But at least we are endorsed by the Ministry of Education. Yeah, so we probably will never become, an irrevocable trust cannot be converted into a parastatal, I am told. We are a small organization, but as I told you, we are the technical arm. So for the person from Konza, we are actually the ones who helped in setting up, and I will recognize maybe some of the young lady engineers. You see, us again, we focus on women in STEM as well. Nyanjao, you can stand and they see, these are the engineers who set up. Enjoy over there. So these are the ones who have been working with NRF to get it where it is. But it is not only that. We do this for all our members. You know, we host multiple LMSs, we carry, if our data center goes off, it switches off many classrooms. So we aim not to have it going down, except maybe power or something. But the most important thing I want to say is that therefore, although we were formed to do connectivity, now we are also in the cloud. But most important, we became, the biggest concentration we have is a concentration of high-end ICT talent. So my work is to manage a talent pipeline, because as you can imagine, the average time an engineer stays with us is, if you push it very much, it's 8 years, so you need to have a pipeline. So we do things on behalf of our members. Everything we do, our engineers are for the members. So this is kind of the membership. You can see we are around about 200 members. Universities, whether private or public, tertiary colleges, teaching hospitals, and one. So this is the ecosystem we support, and all of them are will be involved in this NRF repository. Yeah, so, and obviously, if you go to our website, you can read about our vision, and we are still very big. One of the things I want you to notice is that we are now big in digital transformation, one, and secondly, in digital inclusion. So we got an FCDO grant under the Digital Access Program in 2020, just after COVID, because of digital inclusion. Yeah, so most of the grants now we are getting are in the digital inclusion. And I can tell you it's a big problem because if you look at this, you will see there is such a big difference between Turkana and Nairobi. Yeah, this is produced by the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. So this is the network we've built, 500 or so campuses in 46 counties. It's big. When we started in 2000, we were doing maybe 2 megabits per second. You know, that was high speed. Today, a university that is not on 1 gigabit capacity, that is 1,000 megabit, we say that is excluded. So we are, the bigger universities are on 10,000 megabits, and we have our own undersea circuits to Europe, and we join GIANT. This cloud is the GIANT cloud here. We join Europe, and then from Europe, we are able to go to the rest of the world. Now, the reason I was invited to talk about this, and obviously Africa is covered, but I wanted to, so we operate this infrastructure that allows researchers to go around the world accessing resources or being accessed. So open science means you're opening up yourself to the world. But you are also assuming you also are opening up to the rest of the world. So you saw how quickly we developed, well, I say we, although I'm an engineer, not a scientist, the COVID vaccine. Yeah, it was done. It's because of moving data. Yeah, and when we say moving data, it's not megabytes, it's terabytes. Yeah, which is, and it's not gigabytes, it's terabytes. So we support some of our researchers doing gene sequencing to move data across continents, mostly looking for people to process it, the high performance computing. So these are the things that we, if there is anything, this tells you, so we've just built an identity federation that allows you to open up to the world. And I will probably, if you have not heard of Identity Federation or Federated Services, maybe you can Google it and start to read. And then digital certificates, we have got digital certificates we issue. And right now, the big one that we are doing is one of the service providers for this federation will be Research for Life database of journals. Yeah, they have been free, but we want them to be accessed easily using single sign-on assigned in the institution. So those are the things that we do. So we are very big on identity. It is not seen, but we need First of all, you need institutional identity databases. That's the beginning. Then we provide the database for the country, the identity for the country, and that identity for the country is the one that is trusted by the rest of the world. So we are the trusted organization that allows people to either come in or our researchers to go out in the digital world. The best example for this has been EduRoam. I don't know how many of you are EduRoam users. The only university that is EduRoam native is Kenyatta University. So Dr. Gitao, yes. It means it's based on many databases, and we are the national roaming operator for Kenya. So the Rafiki is an identity federation, and it's accredited. It's part of the global interfederation called EduGain that allows you to get resources everywhere, including research data, repositories, anywhere in the world. But believe it or not, although we have built the infrastructure, the usage is extremely low. So one of the things, I know Professor Isabel is here. She's a champion of this, and so she's one of those, we call them research engagement officers. So we've got the technology, but now the users have got to start using it. This is the way it works, and I won't go through this diagram, but it allows you to access other people's resources using the credentials given in your institution. Right, we have big on research computing. We started doing this research computing because some of our PhD students wanted to do something that is better than their laptop. They were leaving their laptops on for three days, and with this, you can just run it forever. But we are excited because we have upgraded it. We have created the first GPU cluster, which is in high demand now in our community. We do lots of research engagement, so we know the GPU cluster. Now, so one of the things is NRF needs to fund the scaling up of this cluster for the benefit of the researchers. If you want the repository to be populated, you need to do the infrastructure. This cost us about just about 12 million to set up. It is small, but it is a good start, and it is it is right now being tested, and I think we shall also ask NRF to organize a launch like this and invite all the VCs at your cost. Yes, we are helping you with research engagement. So we are big on research engagement. We give small travel grants. Say a researcher publishes a paper in a conference that is indexed in Scopus or Web of Science, that it is going to count in the count of the national count. We can give up to 200,000. It used to be $2,000 until the dollar misbehaved. Then we fixed it to the Kenya shilling. Now it's up to them to figure out what to do. It has been helpful. Every year we give about 30. It's an open online portal. And believe it or not, we are not seeing as many applications as we would like to see because we have never put a budget cap on it. Now, then we have a program for funding young early career PhDs. We give them small grants. By small grants, I mean 1.5 million each, and they do something that lasts a year. And in most cases, they publish about 3 papers on average out of that. These are young PhDs. Well, young in the sense that they got their PhD less than 6 years ago. So it's like a form of postdoc. Yeah, so we do have a research fund as well, Kenneth Research Fund. You know, but it is quite small, and it is an internal fund, just like the way universities do theirs. For example, we've started to work. We have been big on AI for a long time. Just to give you an example, did you know that Kenya is very big on insect farming? Yeah, that's what, I don't know how many of you have bought some porridge made of chicken, yeah? Yes, it's available, and it's sometimes marketed by Isipe, Just, someone from Just here, is a center of excellence in insect farming. But we had somebody who we gave a grant to using machine learning to optimize the feeding of crickets. Yeah, so apparently when crickets want to eat, they make some noise. So you capture that noise and you use machine learning. Yeah, so that was quite interesting for us. I don't know whether it's already in the NRF, but that was an ISIPE. So how do we sustain the technical staff? By the way, to do these things requires very specialized engineers. And the problem has been how to attract and retain them in this global world. 2 years ago, we lost about 5, not to the local community, but to the global world. Especially the cloud engineers are in high demand. And I thank Joy and Nyanjao that they are continuing to stay on. Yeah, it's a mixture of the, but the most important seems to be interesting projects. Yeah, so we do interesting work. Even doing all this NRF is exciting for them, and we are always doing something new, and that is at the cutting edge. Right. So, what do I conclude? First of all, the cluster, the computing now is required. I know we were supposed to activate a HPC node that is sitting at Nakosti 5 years ago. Now that it is too old, so we need a new one. And we have discovered the cluster. It's much easier if you just give us, even if you give us 12 million or 20 million, we add to the cluster. Yeah? Professor Andala, this is okay. We shall agree that he will give 20 million and then we shall expand this cluster. We've got the PhDs. In fact, we have one PhD in physics who is a HPC administrator. Can you imagine a HPC? He's just at Technical University of Kenya. So we leverage on that. We use them on a part-time basis. So we don't necessarily have to hire too much. So the public cloud also needs to be maintained. If you want to increase the research productivity, for example, I don't know whether that's what is in your strategic plan, but in our strategic plan, we wanted Kenya to be 10 times because Kenya's research productivity, if you compare it with the University of Cape Town, is not good at all. So we need 10 times, and then once we achieve 10 times in 2 years, we can go to 100 times. Yeah? For example, about 31 PIs, and I think Professor Andala, you are one of the principal investigators on this, just 34, we calculated the other day by going to, because Microsoft and Amazon all wanted to give us HPC in the cloud. So we asked them, tell us how much shall we be paying in a year, just to carry the workload of the ones that are given for free by South Africa. And the story of being given for free is another one. It has to do with the Square Kilometer Array project, but they allow even a biologist to do it. We got quotations that tell us 48 million is what you need just to support the 30 who get the services for free. So, do you see, Professor Andala, if you give us 48 million, we shall build a cluster that is good enough and we shall achieve this target. Thank you very much.
Let's thank the presenter again. I know Professor has requested for funds without responding to a call, Professor. So I hope you have that category within the institution so that some of them can come direct without waiting for you to put in the papers that you have funds. And I hope you are neutral. You are not saying yes or no. Now, one of the interesting things in this country, my background, I think about research, but then also think about intellectual property. And one of the things that goes with intellectual property is the aspect of branding. It is only in Kenya where we call Toyota. Gari ni Toyota, but we call it Nissan. Have we ever asked ourselves why? I'm picking that because Prof talked about Googling. It's not Googling. Google is just one of the search engines. Maybe they have paid you, you are the ambassador, you didn't tell us. But let's try, and as we communicate, to be as neutral as possible so that we also provide ways for others who may be in that space so that it doesn't appear we are promoting a particular brand. Of course, that's the most common. Otherwise, thank you very much for the presentation. Now, we just want to reflect. I think we have been here for some time and we have listened, starting from the very first presentation. And maybe we shall start from the left so that if you have some reflections, you have some observations, you have some comments, you have a specific question. Somebody with the microphone, we start from the left. If there's somebody, just we get some response from the floor. Any hand up? Any comment? Okay, there's one here.
Thank you. My name is Dr. Wanda. I'm just wondering, I've heard talks about it being expanded. So I don't know how soon we see that happening. Are we going to incorporate health? And how soon will we see that?
Okay, maybe Prof. Andala will pick that at the appropriate time. Any other reaction, comment? Yes, madam.
So my name is Catherine Ngila, Professor Catherine Ngila,
Oh.
and I'm the Executive Director of the African Foundation for Women and Youth in Education, Science, Technology, and Innovation. My interest is to support this group, Women and Youth, and I was quite excited to hear Professor Kashoda. You promote women engineers. That is very, very impressive to see young women actually building these big things. So my comments is actually to do with the database of women scientists. Because you see, when universities advertise positions, they will say, we don't have women. We don't have women to apply for these positions. That is why the percentage is less than 20%. So if we have a database, and then you hear somebody say, we don't have women, then you attack them with data-based evidence. So I'm very, very excited that this repository has been opened, because there is a lot we can do, including gender differentiated data to see who is doing what. And thank you very much to NRF CEO. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other reaction to the presentation? Maybe we move the other side.
Thank you. I don't know whether Professor Kashoda, and I want you not to shy away. You tell us how we can improve what National Research Fund is doing, because whatever they support is generated from universities. Universities also harness that research and put into databases. Is it possible you work, or Kenneth works with NRF, and we use that federated tool so that we're able to capture, instead of duplicating work, so that you're able, technology is there, we are able to capture all the research so that we have the mother as NRF, but the work is being done at university level. I think you need to expound on that.
Okay, thank you. Any other reaction? I have a question for I know the engineers in the room. There is the expert, Professor Mwenga. And we have the brains here, the knowledge. how do we harness this data and have a section in our repository? The knowledge from people's heads. How far are we going back to the knowledge that has been generated in this country? I don't know whether Professor Omwenga will comment on that because we have quite a bit of that, but at a later stage, Prof. Any other reaction before we go back to the presenters? Yes, Professor Manabo.
No, figures are extremely important. But I'm just curious, and I would like to know, when we have this repository of research, are we also looking at the quality of research output? This is just for me to know the quality. In terms of the numbers, how much of the research that we have in the repository has been commercialized? Just want to know.
Yeah, thank you.
And most important is when we are talking about a national research repository, this is purely my view. It is not only the research that is being done in Kenya by Kenyans, but what about Kenyans out there in other places in Australia, USA, and elsewhere who are actually undertaking research, getting patents, and so on? Is there a way that this can be tweeted so that it's part of the repository of the Kenyan output in terms of developing as a player in international research? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Prof. And then last one before we go to the, yes, Professor.
Thank you again, and I'm sorry to monopolize, but I forgot to extend the introduction. So I was recently appointed by the Secretary General of the United Nations to represent Africa, particularly with regards to implementation of Sustainable Development Goals based on science, technology, and innovation. But the reason why I'm bringing this is because I want to know NRF is going to collect data on researchers, professors, and so forth, and projects, and instruments, and everything. What about the innovations? Who are the innovators? So recently the United Nations sent out a call, and they wanted to get case studies of innovators in particularly SDG 1, that is no poverty, SDG 2, no hunger, 13, that is climate change, 16, that is peaceful implementation and governance, and 17, partnerships. So the main point is, if only I had data, I would have given to United Nations to say, these are the Kenyans who are doing innovations in STI, in smart farming, in smart whatever it is, using artificial intelligence and related. So I'm just bringing this so that we can start opening our mind on that. I was just talking to Professor Carol Langat here, the Deputy Vice Chancellor at Kenyatta University, and we were saying, if it is going to be open data and open access, so does it mean that somebody in Britain will be able to access our data, or are we going to be logging in and say, I come from Kenya, and so therefore I am eligible to accessing this data? This is just a question that we were discussing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So let's, Professor Omwenga, maybe as you respond to what was raised earlier.
Oh, thank you very much, moderator, for the chance. I think the question which is on the floor is, what next after the repository, especially going into the AI world that we are faced with. Right now, we are talking about deep learning. Those are technologies which help to harness or to get data from various sources, glean it and use it in various ways. Big data analytics and etc., natural language processing, ontologies and etc. Those big terms that are now being used to process, to capture, process, analyze, and present data. So I think the question that Professor Ndala and team will grapple with is, after the beautiful repository that has been developed, how do we sustain it in this era of heightened use of technology, especially AI? Secondly, what is it that we can do to enlighten the users of this repository to use it effectively? And during break, we already had a solution, which I want to break the news here. Myself and Professor Ndala and the chair of universities, Professor Mugendi, and the chair of the NRF agreed that we will develop some kind of paper on how we can utilize the repository through a short micro-credentials program that the Open University will be able to offer. So that is one way of enriching and extending what is being discussed here today. The Open University of Kenya is ready to develop that short micro-credentials course that we shall host for anybody who wants to access this resource for whatever reason, whether it's research, decision-making, and all the other things we talked about. So there you go. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Professor Mwenga. Madam, maybe that will be the last question, then we go back to Professor Kashoda.
Thank you. I'm Dr. Carol Hunja from Southeastern Kenya University. Something to think about. Now that we're establishing a repository that will have innovations, one of the biggest issues with innovations is how are they protected? And even when we're talking about data, how will it be protected? So that needs to also come into mind, because a lot of people are afraid to even patent, because they are afraid that their ideas will be grabbed. So it is something to think about. Data protection, very essential. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So, allow me to go to Professor Kashoda to respond to some of the issues which have been raised. Then we shall go to Professor Ndala.
Yes, I think Dr. Gitau's question is how you are going to populate the NRF repository, maybe, and to leverage on the existing. I think who was told, literally every university has a repository, institutional repository, which means that everything they publish from masters to all the research is done is already available, say, at Kenyatta University Repository, then University of Nairobi. Now, I think the question he's asking, is there a technical way in which this can be, you can build one large system? And when I talked about federated systems that we provide and trusted systems that we provide, it allows that even when you are searching one place, you can be taken to the next place because you are part of this national federation. So it is possible to tie them all together and not to replicate the data. So that this will be, the NRF will be a window into the institutional repositories that you already have. It is possible to build that system, yeah. It only depends on your policies. I think the other question that was about this global reach for resources that are, say, you have a way in which you allow your users to access institutional resources that are hosted, whether they are library resources or the e-books or the journals that you have subscribed to. Now, what we are talking about with this federation is that you want to access the resources, open access resources, that are in another university, either in Kenya or in another part of Africa. Now, you still have the owner of the resource at the end is able to put, to decide who accesses that data. That's what it means. You never lose in this federated system, you never lose your power to decide who should access this. So it's not as if people come from China and they just come into your repository or NRF and pick the data and go away. You have to allow them to do that. So again, policies have to be developed for you. So what is openness is, it means collaborators are open among each other, but they still can restrict people who are not part of their research team, for example. Yeah. So open is not, and I think Joy expounds. Yes. So, but that has to be captured in your institutional policy and also the NRF policy, because we all have to be assured that what we gave to NRF does not leak to people who will not like them to access the data that we have. I hope I have answered.
And just to build up on that, we are launching a national repository which so far is subject specific, and it's based on the funded output that the NRF has supported. One of the ways, the next steps is, as I'd said earlier, we need to also recognize that literally all our universities have national repositories. That was the work of the Kenya Library Information Services Consortium's objective. So CLISC's objective was to make sure that every university, all 70 of them, regardless of size, have a repository. I believe they got some funding to upgrade those repositories to version 7, so DSpace version 7. And another thing that we need to be aware of as a next step is that CLISC has a national repository connecting all the universities. So an obvious next step is putting in the national repository, the one with the universities, into this, the NRF one. So it's, number one, you're not replicating activities. You're also seeing what is happening in all the universities, and they are already interoperable with the national universities repository because they are reading each other. They've all been upgraded. So that is an obvious next step for those who are wondering, how can we move on? And of course, from the conversations, it's going to go beyond the thematic research areas that have been highlighted. So let's look at it from a bigger perspective. It is which other granting council is going to have access to our national repository. And our national repository, which has not only the output that is coming out of the funders, but also from the university. So all of this is in one space. And in answer to your question about innovations, that is why now we are hosting this project, the Africa PID Alliance, the Open Infrastructure Program, because we noted that there are persistent identifiers that were missing in some parts of the research life cycle. And in this case, we are looking at the innovation space. So we are looking at how we can start assigning persistent identifiers to such information that is going to be put in repositories. Remember, by the time you're putting any information in a repository, it's not only for visibility, but also showing sovereignty. Before anybody pulls it out, you can actually see where it came from. But additional sovereignty is assigning persistent identifiers. So that is why, as this conversation was taking place this morning, there were more during the tea break on how we can foster that out on the innovation space. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. Maybe just to add, before I go to Professor Ndala, the aspect of intellectual property, and it has been picked out, is the issue of having an institutional intellectual property policy. And under that, we have what we call the invention disclosure. So that even from the staff point of view, and that is, NACOSTE currently has guidelines, and under STI mainstreaming, you can actually develop, because if you get it wrong at the institutional level, then it is unlikely you will get it right. That is one. And then for the researchers, going forward as you negotiate with your donors, because some donors are very strict that you don't put that information elsewhere. Can you ensure that those collaborative agreements have aspects of you sharing whatever that comes out of that funded project? Professor Ndala, you had quite a bit to negotiate.
I know most of the questions have been answered, especially the technical front. I'll pick one asked by Dr. Wanda on expansion of the repository to capture health. Yes, we are headed in that direction. We've done 3. There are other 3 that we're also working on. And I'm happy that to inform NRF and the National Institute, we've collaborated. We had a call for proposals, and we received overwhelming numbers. We are targeting around fever. We got 250 applications, so we are doing a lot of work sifting through. You will receive feedback in due course. The other thing that I want to mention were questions raised by Professor Mnav on quality of research output. It's very, very critical. As National Research Fund, we've got an M&E process that we usually undertake. Similarly, when you are publishing these research outputs and you're putting them in journals that are credible, I think there is a review process that is that the article is taken through. So among the articles that we're putting in the repository after I go that review process, so they're actually of good quality. Some of these research outputs cannot be, can be like policy statements, or which I mean they should be able to be informed by the research findings. So as NRF, during our M&E process, we vet that. The other thing that for the non-Kenyans in diaspora, it'll be a good thing to have them captured, but now, of course, some of them, they may be Kenyans by birth, but they've taken up other citizenry. So we will be able now to have a bilateral agreement, probably between the countries, and that is beyond NRF. That can be a national dialogue where we can be able to consider, because there's a lot of research outputs or innovations that are being discovered by Kenyans, and it's a question of how does Kenyan benefit. So I know you are at a better position to raise that issue with whoever, so that we can be able to consider. The other thing that has been raised here is, I think the others have been answered, but what I want to make clear, NRF collects research outputs database. Kenya collects innovations. So they have a database for innovations. So do not mix the two. Are we together? Yes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So let's thank our facilitators and presenters, and so that we don't sound like politicians. I know some of us would aspire to be politicians. We thank them differently, right?
Can all do this and hear some noise?
Yeah, thank you very much. If you replicate that, I will sue you. Allow me to welcome Mr. Robert Gisheru on the way forward. Let's thank him. Maybe Professor Andala will say something before he comes in.
Just before he does that, can I ask?
Yeah, sure.
Really, the British Council team, Monica too.
Yeah, sure.
Asha, welcome. The French Embassy, who is part of this.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks very much, Prof. Sorry to put you on the spot, and I realize that probably we did have other development partners in the room. I did see a few more earlier today, and apologies, I did not ask you to stand up at the start of the day. So if there are any other development partners or representatives of other missions, can you please stand up, and apologies if we missed you. I know there was somebody else with us in the morning. So do you mind just saying hello and welcome?
Thank you very much, and good morning to everyone. So I must start to say that for us in France, open science is a very important subject, like in the UK, and we are actually working on it together with the open partners on how to better share science. So what's happening here actually resonates with what we are doing in Europe. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, and sorry to put you on the spot. Thanks, Rajat, Prof. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. So let's welcome Mr. Gisheru. Let's welcome. Karibu sana.
So thank you very much. I want to recognize the protocols present. My colleagues, I'm here for only 2 minutes. I want us to do a very simple exercise using our phones. You can see from our screen. We will direct us to web browser. Maybe if you have the buttons, go to the web browser. Type menti.com. menti.com. And then the next thing is the code. The code number is 637 6516080. There are a number of questions we would like to get feedback from you. And in fact, if the time would have allowed, we have so many questions, but we just have 3 questions for you. Because since morning we have given you a lot of information about repository, and we cannot invite you in vain. Maybe you can give us feedback so that we may have something to take home. I hope we are there. There are 3 questions. The code is there. We'll be seeing the results live. So maybe you can copy the code and then we project the other screen for the live results. Copy the code somewhere, then we project. Go back to the code. So the code is 765 16080. So we just have 3 questions for you because of time, and would really appreciate your response. Then good. We are good to go. You can see the first question is describe the National Research Repository using one word. Database, platform, excellent, progressive, timely, useful, accessibility, fantastic, interesting, brilliant, platform, important, potential, amazing, game changer, progressive, innovative, useful, perfect. So the responses are loud, timely, and excellent, progressive. I think now we can move to the next question. Thank you for that response. We have noted. So the next question is, in what areas will the National Research Repository be beneficial to you? We have 5 set of possible answers. In what areas will the National Research Repository be beneficial to you? Because in this meeting we have invited persons from different walks of life. This I hope maybe the IT team can project. I don't know whether it's possible to project. There are some answers that are not feasible. So, but at least you can see the questions that are already there. The answers, 5 of them. Some would say that accessing research funding opportunities. Second option is discovering relevant research and publications. Third one is collaboration, networking with researchers and policymakers. The fourth one is integrating research findings into policy and development strategies. The fifth one is keeping up to date with the research trends. So you can see the first and second option, they are doing well. So thank you so much for that wonderful response. So the first and second option is assessing research funding opportunities. The second one is discovering relevant. Oh, thank you. I'm very fast. I'm very fast than computer. So keep posting your answers. Keep posting your answers. Then from 34B is about to arrive at IBC. So let me know when it's ready. So thank you. Maybe we can revisit that one later. And my team has already projected the third question at the last one. Which research domains would you like to see more extensively covered in the National Research Repository? So my friends were quarreling me out there. I can't see medicine. So it is your time now to reveal that you want medicine now. So since morning we have been told extensively that we have just focused on water, energy, and land. So that is a good baby step. And I know this one will be very biased. Like I said, we come from different walks of life. There are those who would like agriculture and food security, technology and innovation, climate change and environment, health and medicine. We're just overwording, but it means the same. Education and skills development, social sciences and humanities. So if you were to go by ranking, because you are our respondents, who has taken? Who is the winner? Agriculture and food security. Let's appreciate them for being. Yes, yes. Food is the best thing. Other things follows. With those short presentation, I want to thank you. Welcome, Prof. Then, according to the program, I was to mention about the next steps. In fact, it's like you have already led our mind, because we want to capitalize on food security and sustainable agriculture. And at this point, I want us to appreciate the British Council once again. Let's appreciate them once again. They have sponsored us to do the works on food security and sustainable agriculture. And let's also appreciate FCDO. I almost forgot, I'm very sorry. FCDO is the umbrella. Thank you so much. We want to pursue that next phase as soon as possible, and by June, we'll be having the data with us. There are other more announcements, like what we are planning as National Research Fund, and that one will be from the output of the National Research Repository. And at this time, I want to welcome Professor Andara. Somebody is directing me, Kalero, please come back. so that you proceed with the program. So on my part, I want to thank you so much. Thank you.
Let's appreciate him again. So the era of giving papers, small papers to people to respond, I think is gone, right? The only question which was going through my mind as we went through the questions, if they were in our national language, Swahili, how many of us would have responded as fast? Maybe next time we try, so that we have both the English and, because the language is actually recognized. So, thank you very much for being an active audience. Thank you, NRF and the company, for the opportunity. And I believe this is just the starting. We shall progress. Let the institutions have the appropriate policies in place, whether there are issues of data management. Of course, it has been mentioned, in this country we have a Data Protection Act, but the act is about personal data. It's not about this other data. Therefore, whatever we do within the institutions, let's take care of the existing policy and regulatory framework. Let's thank ourselves again. I would already said you are good students and you have forgotten. Let's thank ourselves again. Okay, thank you very much. Allow me to hand back the microphone to Bwana Njagi to continue the program. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Kalera. Maybe let's applaud Mr. Kalera for facilitating that session. And I need to mention that, as I mentioned earlier, Mr. Kalera is a member of the Repository and Advisory Committee, and the other members, please, if you are in the hall, you could stand up that people can see. People have been advising the team on the repository. These are the members of Christine, Joy. That's the team that has been playing the part of the advisory committee. Now, in the next step, we are going to have some announcements and the launch, and which I request our CEO, Professor Ndala, to coordinate our session. Thank you, Prof.
Thank you, Jacob. We are almost at the tail end. And before we come on stage to launch the repository, there are two important announcements I'd like to pass across. Number one, National Research Fund in August, the 19th to 23rd of August, we are going to have a National Research Festival. It's like celebrating our last 10 years, of which we've never had such a thing. It is going to be huge. We are anticipating people from all the walks of lives, that is from primary school, high school, to university, to come and attend. It won't be in the usual form of conferencing, but it'll be more of interaction. All those research outputs and impacts thereof will be showcased. All our partners will be present. The universities with the curriculum or the courses you offer and all what we funded will be there to be showcased. And I'm looking forward to probably either the president coming to open or whoever at that level. So we need your support, and we need to start now. We are collecting currently into a form of a booklet all the research outputs within each and every university. We will receive a letter so that you can share with us, and also the research institutions. So make it easy, make it simple for the common man to understand. I know we've got our partners in the house. For instance, Wellcome Trust has been doing a lot of research, and there's so much research output that doesn't come to the fore. We've got also Liverpool School of Tropical Medicine. They've been here with us for a very long time, and many more others that we'll wish to have them come and detail to us what they've been undertaking. So I look forward to seeing you in August. A prelude to that, we are going to have a hackathon. A hackathon is coming between 6th and 7th of June. And we are being inclusive. We always fund seasoned researchers, but we want to fund those who are still in TVET or those who are, by way of just recognizing either if you give somebody who's IT tech or savvy a laptop, they can do a lot with that laptop. So there'll be several prizes to be won. So mark your dates, especially the vice chancellors. Will be sending out a call, put it to your students and those who have finished so that they can be able to participate in the first NRF hackathon. And this is a prelude event that will mark as we prepare for the National Research Festival. I'll want to welcome, I know the stage is very small. I'll call upon our partners, our vice chancellors, CEOs, so that we can come and officially launch the repository. I hope my team is ready with the countdown so that we can celebrate this milestone. So kindly arise. You can come here on stage for those who can fit, and the rest you can be able to join in with the celebrations. Where do we stand? Kindly guide us. Down here or on the stage? Robert and Tim, Titus, kindly come and guide. I'm advised that you can be able to scan, it's on your table, to be able to access the portal. Thank you, and I wish you
All the best throughout the rest of the day, and I hand it back to Jacob, who will invite do the next steps.
Thank you, CEO. We really appreciate you for that. And I want to do the next step, but before then, as my colleague has said, Robert, we from here going to move forward with the repository, and the next phase that we have identified is we need to handle the area, as you have all indicated, food and nutrition security. We are already contacting a number of universities that we have identified to be strong in this area, and all other universities that are participating in this process to respond to our call in terms of data provision. So we'll be coming back to you on that, and we hope to get good response. Next, we would want to have to award you some people some gifts within NRF, and I'll request my colleague Faith to come and coordinate that part. Faith.
Thank you very much, Jacob. Hello. Are you tired? We really want to appreciate you for sitting on that chair for this time. And the next stage is we want to appreciate individuals who have taken their time to come and walk with us this journey. And on behalf of the chairman of board, the CEO, British Council, we want to appreciate our stakeholders who have been with us, who have walked the journey with us, with a token of gifts. Yeah, if your name will not be called, just know that next time you will be called. And to start off, I'll wish to call on stage Professor Ratemo Micheka, to come and present the first round of gifts. Yes. Yeah, so when I read out the name, you come on stage. Yeah. The first name is Monica Blagescu. Then Professor Elijah Omwenga.
Let me tell you something. This young man, when we did the actual debate, he didn't tell you the whole story. I beat him by 80-20. I defeated him 8-20. That's why he stopped saying when we were doing our competition. Kweli wrong. Kweli wrong, kweli. Yeah.
I improved.
You later on improved. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next is Dr. Jordan Kiongo. Then Mr. Matthew Guerin. Professor Raphael Monavu.
You want me to come up there? God bless you. So keep it for me.
Dr. Stella Muhoro. Professor Mioli Kashorda.
I've known you all this. They have no gray hair since I knew you. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Micheka. And Professor Dixon Andala can give the next round of gifts. Professor Laban Airo. Okay, he left. Then Professor Peter Mwita. A representative from Kaimosi can take for Professor Mwita. Professor Daniel Mugendi. Professor Joseph Rotich. Or any representative from the university. Laikipia University. Okay. Next is Professor Mary Ndungu, a representative. Thank you so much, Professor. Dr. Karimi, kindly come and give the next round of gifts. Representative Multimedia University. Representative University of Kabianga. Representative Chuka University. Representative Moi University. Representative Maseno University. Representative Karatina University. Representative Kenyatta University. Representative Egerton University. Representative Pwani University. Representative Rongo University. Representative Seku. Representative University of Nairobi. Representative Jaramogi Odinga Oginga University. Oh, is that one? Oh, University of Nairobi. Then Jost. Representative Masinde Muliro University of Science and Technology. We are almost done. Representative Technical University of Kenya took. Then Representative University of Eldoret. Thank you so much, Dr. Karimi. Yeah.
Thank you for that session. We need to appreciate Faith for coordinating that session. Okay, then the next part of the session, we need to have closing remarks, and this one will be given by our trustee, Dr. Kalemi, please. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you very much. And I will do what someone did earlier on by saying that I am the one who's standing between you going for lunch. And so I'll really try to be very brief. There's a lot that we have had today. And we want to first of all thank each of you for taking of your time to come for this particular event. For us, this is really great. Just being able to see different stakeholders coming to have the whole discussion around how we can come up with our national repository. I do not want to repeat what many of the speakers have said, but I just want to highlight some of the aspects that seemed to come out so strongly, even as the discussions came up. The whole aspect of through the repository, we will be able to find data. We will be able to access data. We'll be able to see how it can be linked from the different ends, and we'll be able to consolidate it. Another aspect that seemed to be clear is that through this repository, we do not just hope that it will lie there as a repository, but that we will be able to go a mile further to see how we can analyze the data that is used, analyze the research work that is being carried out for purposes of us informing policy moving forward. So even as NRF, we are committing ourselves that as we have this repository, we'll be able to analyze a lot of that which is going on within our research ecosystem and be able to advise both the government and the donors on what is happening in our research landscape. The third aspect that seemed to come out so strongly was the aspect of open access. Open access. We are now opening ourselves. I know Professor Omwanga referred to the fact that open access or open means that we are opening ourselves. So we are actually opening ourselves as a country so that our data, our research can be visible beyond where we are. I know Professor Kashoda has just walked out, but I was a bit disappointed when he was mentioning the research institutions, that he did not mention the African Population and Health Research Center. And it just means maybe we are not that visible. That is where I work. But it also calls for us that through this repository, we will be able to have a lot of our research that is being done in the country being more visible. And that we'll be able to connect with the different individuals, with the different institutions that are carrying out research or that have their own repositories in a way that the different repositories can be able to inform each other. I was glad to hear that institutions, the universities, have their own repositories. But the question that we need to ask ourselves, even moving forward, is what will we put in place such that these repositories speak to each other and speak to the national repository, research repository that we have. The whole aspect of partnerships will become of essence during this period of time. And as NRF, we are committed to put in resources, to put in the infrastructure that is required, to put in the right expertise and the skill sets that are required to be able to push us to the next level of efficiency, to push us to the next level of delivering on that which we have committed to do in terms of the repository, and also to put in the resources that are required for the sustainability of this particular project. At this moment, you are calling it a project because we have just begun. But we are keen on having it a movement, even as we move forward towards having it being sustainable. So with that, and again, I'm looking at your faces and seeing how much you desire to go for lunch. Let me say thank you. Thank you once more. Kindly feel free to interact with us as NRF through our CEO, so that then we can be able to see how we can improve on this particular system. So thank you very much. And I think Jacob is looking at me and asking me to ask one of us to lead us with a closing prayer. Thank you. Any volunteer? Okay, let us pray. Let us pray, and I'll also pray for the lunch. Okay. Heavenly Father, we want to thank you for what a beautiful day that we have had. We thank you that we have been able to launch this national research repository. And Father, even as we embrace it, we pray that you'll give us wisdom, you'll give us an understanding of what we need to do to ensure that it serves the entire country. We want to also thank you for all those who have contributed to it. Thank you, Lord, for all the development partners who have been on board. We specifically want to thank you for the British Council and also FCDO for holding our hands and bringing us this far. Thank you, Lord, even for the future donors and development partners who we will be bringing on board so that we can be able to expand this particular repository. Thank you for every stakeholder. Thank you for every CEO, every vice chancellor who's here, every individual who has taken of their time to come and be with us during this particular launch. And even as we go for lunch at this moment, we're just praying, Lord, that you will bless the food and bless our afternoon, for it is in Jesus' name that we have prayed and believed. Amen. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you, Ruth, Trustee Flora, for that. Announcement, we are having lunch being served on the third floor, and you're going to receive